I want you to close your eyes for a second. Just imagine you're standing in a local fish store. You know the vibe, right? It's humid.
Well, absolutely.
It smells faintly of like algae and damp carpet, and you've got that low electric hum of 100 different filters just vibrating through the floor.
This is a very specific sensory experience.
Yeah.
The classic LFS, the local fish store.
Exactly. And you're standing there staring at a tank. And inside this tank are, well, let's be honest, they're kind of underwhelming.
Mhm.
They're gray. They're mottled. They look like gravel that somehow learned how to swim.
Unremarkable is the polite term, I think.
Right. Unremarkable. But here's the dilemma. You're standing there looking at this gray swimming gravel, and you have to make a choice. Do I buy this?
Yeah.
Do I take this creature home and, commit to keeping it alive for the next 10, maybe 15 years?
That is a massive contract to sign based on a very unimpressive visual pitch.
It is. And that's the microdrama, that specific moment of decision-making that we're unpacking today. We're doing a deep dive into a blog post from a site called qianmeng.org. The post is titled Notes on Fishkeeping, Part 183.
And I just want to pause on that title for a second.
Yeah.
Part 183.
Catch that number.
We aren't analyzing, a BuzzFeed listicle here. We're not looking at a glossy magazine article about top 10 fish for your living room.
Yeah.
We're looking at a raw, data-heavy entry from a personal journal. The author, a guy named Ang, he describes himself as an old software plumber.
I love that title, software plumber. It's so evocative.
It really is.
Yeah.
It implies someone who isn't just designing the pretty user interface. He's the guy deep in the basement dealing with the pipes, the mess, the logic that makes the system work.
And today he's applying that plumber's logic to a specific fish, the Texas Cichlid.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's get into the specifics. The Texas Cichlid.
The scientific name is Herichthys cyanoguttatus. It's actually the only cichlid species native to the United States, specifically from the Rio Grande drainage.
And Ang is staring at this fish in a shop. He's based in Malaysia, but he visits all these local stores. And he's just paralyzed by this decision. We're going to look at why this decision is so hard, what it tells us about the tension between what we see and what we know, and honestly, what it tells us about the kind of personality that logs Part 183 of anything.
It really is a case study in skepticism versus patience.
So let's look at the product first. The Texas Cichlid. If you Google this fish right now, listener, you're going to see something spectacular.
Oh, yeah.
It's covered in these electric blue or turquoise pearls. Cyanoguttatus literally means blue spotted.
Yeah.
It's shimmering. It's got this impressive, robust shape. It looks like a showstopper.
Right, that's the ideal. That's the textbook definition of a mature adult.
But that is not what Ang is seeing in the store.
No. He mentions visiting various local fish stores, doing his rounds, and every time he sees a juvenile Texas Cichlid, he notes that they lack vibrant coloration.
He's seeing the gray gravel version.
Exactly. And this disconnect between the Google image result in his head and the reality of the tank,
Yeah.
It triggers a very specific response in him. He doesn't just think, well, it's an ugly fish. He thinks, I'm being sold a defect.
This is where we get into his first theory, the rejected batches theory.
It's a very cynical view, but it's, grounded in the economics of the hobby. Ang writes, as I've mentioned several times in my writings, many locally available ornamental fish are often the rejected batches from the local fish farms.
Wait, okay, let's break that down. Rejected batches? Are we talking about like factory seconds? Like buying a shirt with a missing button at an outlet store?
That is exactly the analogy. Commercial fish farming is a massive industry.
Yeah.
They breed thousands of fry at once. They grade them. The top-tier A-grade specimens, the ones that show color early, the ones with perfect fins, those get shipped to high-end distributors, often overseas to Japan or Europe where they command top dollar.
And the local shops.
They get the B stocks, the culls, the runts.
So Ang is standing there thinking, the reason this fish is gray isn't because it's a baby, it's because it has bad genetics. It's a dud.
Precisely. And if you're a serious hobbyist, and remember, this guy is on Note 183 space is a premium resource. You have limited gallons, limited filtration. Filling a tank with genetic trash, for lack of a better term, is just a bad investment strategy.
He even says it explicitly. It usually isn't worth investing in these over-quality specimens. It sounds so cold when you say it about a living thing, doesn't it? But it's practical.
It is practical. If you're building a server rack, you don't buy broken hard drives. If you're building a fish tank, you don't want broken genetics.
But, and here's where that software plumber mindset shifts gears, he doesn't just trust his gut. He doesn't just walk away.
No, he debugs the assumption.
He goes to the interweb, as he calls it. He starts reading. And he finds theory number 2.
The biological reality.
Right. He finds literature that suggests for the Texas Cichlid specifically, this dullness is not necessarily a bug. It might be a feature.
A feature?
Yeah, explain that.
Well, think about it biologically. It's a natural developmental stage. In the wild, if you're a tiny baby fish and you're bright electric blue, what happens to you?
You're a neon sign for predators. You get eaten.
Exactly. You get eaten immediately. Being gray, being unremarkable is a survival strategy. The literature Ang finds suggests this dull phase is standard, and the shimmering adult body is a transformation that happens later.
Okay, how much later? Because that's the crucial part.
That is the kicker. The sources say maturity hits at 1.5 to 2 years of age.
2 years.
2 years.
Okay, hold on. So he's standing in the store. He has 2 competing data sets in his head. Data point A, local stores sell junk. This fish looks like junk, therefore it is junk.
Right.
Data point B, biology dictates a camouflage phase. This fish is in that phase, therefore it might be a swan in disguise.
And there's no way to know which is true in the moment. You can't look at the fish and tell the difference between genetically poor and developmentally young. They look identical.
It's a black box.
It's a complete black box.
Yeah.
And the only way to open the box is to buy the fish and wait 730 days.
Which brings us to the stakes. Because we're not talking about a goldfish. You win at a carnival that lives for 3 months. What's the lifespan here?
Ang notes the life expectancy is 10 to 15 years.
That's a dog. That's
Yeah.
a cat. That is a significant chunk of a human life.
It puts the purchase in a totally different light. In our, consumer culture, we're so used to instant gratification. You buy the 4K TV, you see the 4K picture immediately.
Yeah.
You don't buy a TV that looks fuzzy for 2 years and might get clear in 2028.
Just keep watching. The pixels will mature. Trust me.
Exactly. But that's what this fish demands. It is a decade-plus contract based on a promise that won't manifest for 24 months.
It's the ultimate gamble on biology. And I think to understand why Ang is even entertaining this gamble, why he doesn't just go find a fish that looks good now, we have to look at the man himself. We need to deep dive into the sidebar of keonmang.org.
Oh, the sidebar's a gold mine. This is where the deep dive really gets interesting, because the context of the source material just changes everything.
I was scrolling through it while we were prepping, and I honestly got a little dizzy. The sheer volume of data this man tracks it's intense.
It's a testament to the logging mindset. It really is.
Let's list some of these. We're on Notes on Fishkeeping, part 183. That's a lot of fish notes. But then I looked at Notes on Gardening.
Part 791.
791.
As of January 2026.
That's mind-blowing.
It suggests he's been doing this for decades. And it's not just, I water the plants today. I looked at some of the titles. He has posts about leggy vinca and the European olive.
Leggy vinca sounds like a terrible indie band.
It does. It refers to a plant that's growing too tall and thin. Usually they're searching for light. It's a structural problem that takes time to correct. You have to prune it, move it, wait for new growth. And the European olive, that's one of the slowest growing trees you can plant.
So he's clearly comfortable with the long game. He isn't a guy who plants a seed and digs it up the next day to see if it has roots.
Not at all. He understands organic latency. But it gets even more interesting when you look at his professional notes, notes on Haskell programming,
Part 44.
along with notes on Python, Elixir, Erlang, Rust, and Go.
Okay, for the listeners who aren't coders, what does that list tell you about him?
It tells me he's a polyglot programmer, but specifically, he likes the hard stuff. Haskell, Erlang, Rust. These aren't just drag-and-drop languages. These are systems languages. They require rigor. Haskell, for instance, is famous for being incredibly strict. You have to define everything perfectly before the code will even run.
So he's a guy who likes rules. He likes systems.
And he likes concurrency. Erlang and Elixir are languages built to handle a massive number of things happening at the same time without crashing. They were built for telecom systems.
Which is kind of exactly what a fish tank is.
It's a perfect metaphor. A fish tank is a biological system of concurrent processes. You've got filtration, the nitrogen cycle, bacterial growth, fish aggression, feeding schedules. If one thing crashes, the whole system goes down. Ang isn't just keeping pets, he's running a server. And the fish are the processes.
That explains the unit testing note I saw. Notes on Haskell programming, part 41, unit testing.
Yes. Unit testing is where you isolate a small piece of code and test it to make sure it does exactly what it's supposed to do.
And that's what he's doing with the Texas Cichlid.
Exactly. He's looking at this fish and thinking, I need to run a unit test on this species.
But instead of a millisecond test, it's a 2-year test.
Timescales differ between biology and software. But the methodology is the same. Isolate the variable, observe the output, log the results.
It's fascinating because he also tracks personal stuff. Notes on dieting, specifically Lei Cha, notes on meditation, notes on home improvement.
And if you look at the archive dates, in January 2026 alone, just 1 month, he posted 87 entries.
Wait, 87 entries in 31 days? That's almost 3 a day.
Correct.
Okay, so this isn't just a hobby. This is a discipline.
I'd call it a discipline, yes.
Huh.
He debugs his life the way he debugs code. He documents incremental progress. And I think this is the key to why he eventually buys the fish.
How so?
Because for Ang, the value isn't necessarily having a pretty fish in the tank today. The value is the data stream that the fish generates over time.
Oh, that's interesting. Unpack that.
Well, if he bought the perfect shimmering adult fish, the one that looks like the Google image, what's there to log? Day 1, fish is blue. Day 100, fish is still blue.
Boring. No part 184.
Exactly. But if he buys the ugly duckling, now he has a narrative. Now he has a data set. Month 3, slight pearling on the dorsal fin. Month 6, aggression increased, color darkening. The transformation is the content.
He's buying the mystery box because he wants to document the unboxing, even if it takes 2 years to open.
And he mentions in the source that he's a floss enthusiast free and open source software. He supports the Electronic Frontier Foundation, the Tor project.
Meaning he believes in open information.
He believes in showing the source code.
Yeah.
Even if it's messy, he's not trying to present a curated, filtered Instagram life where everything is perfect. He's showing the source code of his hobby. If the fish turns out to be a genetic dud, I guarantee you he will write part 200, the Texas Cichlid failed.
Yeah.
And that data point is just as valuable to him as a success.
He's scientifically curious about the failure. So let's go back to the moment of decision. He's weighed the cynicism, the rejected batches. He's weighed the biology, the late bloomer. He's looked at his own capacity for a 15-year commitment. What does the plumber decide?
He decides to execute the program. He writes, "Perhaps I should just secure a pair and begin keeping them, much like the other cichlids in my collection."
Secure a pair. It sounds so tactical, not buy 2 cuties.
It really does. And note that he buys a pair. That's classic cichlid keeping. You often buy a group or a pair to see how they interact or to hopefully get a breeding pair. It adds another layer of complexity.
And he compares them to the other cichlids in his collection, so he's not walking in blind.
No, he has a control group. He has other data sets. He's adding a new variable to his existing ecosystem.
It really reframes the whole idea of pet ownership. I think most people buy a pet for companionship or aesthetics. I want a dog to hug, or I want a pretty tank to look at.
Sure.
Ang buys a pet to learn.
To explore. The title of the post is, Should We Explore Texas Cichlid? Not, Should I Buy? Explore. It's an expedition.
Into a gray, watery jungle.
And for a learner like Ang, the unknown is the attraction.
You know, looking at that sidebar again, Notes on Haskell, part 44, versus Notes on Gardening, part 791. There's something comforting about that discrepancy to me.
How do you mean?
Well, coding is logic. It works or it doesn't. 1 or 0. Gardening. Gardening is chaos. Plants die. Weather changes. And he has way more notes on the chaos than on the logic.
That's a profound observation. Maybe the fish keeping sits right in the middle. It's got the logic of water chemistry, pH, nitrates, temperature, the chaos of biology.
And he's trying to bridge that gap.
I think that's it. And that consistency we talked about, that is the superpower here. A 15-year commitment scares most people because they don't know who they'll be in 15 years.
Well, I even live in this apartment. Well, I still want a fish tank.
Exactly. But Ang has a pretty good idea who he'll be in 15 years.
He'll be the guy writing Notes on Fishkeeping, part 5000.
Precisely. He's proven to himself, through data, that he stays the course. So the risk of the commitment is lower for him than it is for you or me. He knows he'll still be there to feed them.
It's reliability. The reliability of the old software plumber.
It connects to a broader theme we often discuss,
Uh-huh.
the difference between acquiring information and acquiring wisdom.
Break that down.
Information is Googling the fish and knowing it should turn blue in 2 years. Anyone can do that in 5 seconds.
Right.
Wisdom is having the patience to watch it happen day by day, feed by feed, water change by water change for 700 days. Wisdom is the earned understanding of the process.
And risking that it might not happen.
That's the price of admission. That's the risk of all research.
So let's recap this deep dive. We started with a gray, boring fish in a humid store. We moved through the cynical theory that the supply chain is dumping rejects on us. We countered that with the biological reality that good things take time, specifically that 2-year maturation window.
And we filtered it all through the mind of Aang, a man who documents every aspect of his life, from code to calories to European olives.
And the result is a decision to commit, to take the dull gray reality of the present and invest in the shimmering possibility of the future.
It really makes you think about how we judge things and people and projects in their early stages.
It does. We're often so quick to discard the dull drafts, the dull beginnings.
We want the shimmer immediately. We scroll for instant dopamine. If a video doesn't grab us in 3 seconds, we swipe. If a hobby is hard for the first month, we quit.
Aang is reminding us of the value of the long game.
There's something almost poetic about a software engineer, someone whose professional life is defined by millisecond execution speeds, being willing to wait 2 years for a biological payoff.
It's permitting yourself to invest in potential, even when the current data looks gray.
Exactly. It's trusting the process over the immediate aesthetic.
So here's our provocative thought to leave you with today. We all have a Texas Cichlid in our lives.
We do.
Maybe it's a project at work that feels like it's going nowhere. Maybe it's a skill you're learning, like playing guitar, where you just sound clunky and gray right now. Maybe it's an investment that hasn't paid off yet.
If you looked at those dull, early stages of your own long-term projects, maybe your own version of Aang's 791 gardening notes, would you have abandoned them based on how they looked in the store?
Or do you have the plumber's patience? Do you have the discipline to run the unit tests day after day for 2 years, trusting that the shimmering result is coded into the DNA of the project?
Do you reject the batch or do you secure the pair?
That's the question. Something to chew on next time you're stuck in the messy middle of a project. Thanks for diving in with us.
Always a pleasure.